My glass. Actually, let's start with the silver oak.
Let's do that.
I have some silver oak in my glass.
Yep.
2014 silver oak. And we will at least cheer before we go into the wines themselves.
Oh, can you hand me that glass, please?
Yes, of course, Richard. Did you get it? Oops.
I did, thanks.
You got it?
I did.
Excellent. So cheers.
Cheers.
Santé. Or kanpai.
Kanpai. Kanpai so desu.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Doudou shimashite. Oishii desu.
Yummy.
It's very good.
So we're looking at 5 wines today that are available in Japan at the moment. And the first wine comes from Twomey. And I want to just say what a wonderful market Japan is for our wines. It's a mature, sophisticated, and a very strong market for silver oak and Twomey cellars. And I really want to thank everybody who has bought our wines and drinks our wines. And I look forward to welcoming you to the winery in the not too distant future. Sauvignon Blanc is a strong varietal for us in Japan. I think it goes really well with the food. Obviously, so much seafood in Japan matches very well with the Twomey Sauvignon Blanc. Now, Twomey is an estate wine. The Sauvignon Blanc comes from 2 vineyards that we own, so up in Napa Valley, and 2 vineyards that we own in Napa. I mean, in Russian River, in Sonoma. So this allows us to see one vineyard here is the Twomey Sauvignon Blanc. And here in Napa is the other vineyard by our property in Oakville. And then over in Russian River, we have one vineyard down here and then another vineyard up just in this area by Healdsburg. Russian River is a cooler growing climate than Napa. So when you taste the Sauvignon Blanc, you get a little zestiness, you get some tension in the wine, and that comes from the cooler fruit that is grown in the Russian River area. The wine, though, has a wonderful breadth to it, and that comes from the warmer climate of Napa Valley. Also, the wine is predominantly fermented in stainless steel, but about 30% of it sees a little neutral, meaning really old, French oak. And that also adds some of the length to the wine itself. So it's a complex Sauvignon Blanc, I would say, more in the style of Sancerre than, let's say, New Zealand. Fundamentally, it's a Northern California Sauvignon Blanc. With this vintage, I think it's about 52% from Napa and about 48% from Sonoma. But every vintage is slightly different. Well, we just had our virtual release day of the new vintages. So those will eventually be finding their way to Japan.
I find that the Sauvignon Blanc is a really good food pairing wine with a lot of Japanese food as well.
I think that's why we sell so much in Japan, because we do. Japan is our largest export market for Sauvignon Blanc. And I think it is because of the food. It works really well with the sashimi, with the sushi, and you know, all of those fish dishes that you're so fortunate to have in Japan. And that I miss terribly because
I do too.
I love the food of Japan. And it's not quite the same here in Sonoma.
What do you want to talk about next?
The Russian River, I think, because while Sauvignon Blanc is a strong part of Twomey, the future in a way, or the main focus now, are Pinot Noirs. And I think today we're showing the 2015, although my bottle here, I don't have a 15 in the house, but we're showing the Pinot Noir from Russian River, 2015. As I mentioned before, we make Pinot Noir from as far south as Santa Barbara County, which is off this map, and as far north now as Oregon, which is up here. But the two main ones are our Anderson Valley and our Russian River Pinot. And we're focused today on the one that we export the most to Japan, which is Russian River. It comes from 3 different vineyards, one of which, this little brown dot here, is actually a grower that we purchase fruit from, but we love the fruit that comes from this particular vineyard. It's a slightly higher elevation, and it's surrounded by redwoods and gives the wine a really wonderful quality. But our main vineyard is this letter P that you see here, right on the Russian River. This is our vineyard known as Last Stop. And we used to buy fruit from Last Stop, but then a few years back, we purchased it, and now it is the backbone of the Russian River Pinot Noir for us. And then the other vineyard is up here, and this is Westpin. So there are 3 vineyards in Russian River that is absolutely one of the best growing areas in Northern California for Pinot Noir. There are 3 vineyards that we have that are in this wine that we're tasting, or we're not tasting, but that you can taste today. The wine itself is picked at night, brought in, hand sorted, and then put into small open top tanks in our winery up here in Healdsburg. And the open top tanks allow us to do a hand pneumatic punch down. And then the juice eventually is led off down, gravity fed, into French oak barrels. We were talking about American oak with silver oak. Don't be confused. Twomey is all French oak. And these are French oak Burgundy barrels. And the wine is rested in these barrels for about 14 months. About 20% or so is new. And then it's taken off the barrel and then bottled and then released. And it spends maybe about 6 months to 8 months in the bottle before release. And I also just want to add one little thing about the Twomey Pinot Noir from Russian River. For me, it's a very classic Russian River Pinot. What do I look for in Russian River Pinots? I look for red fruit. I look for that sort of strawberry lushness that you get, which is the sun, actually, of California. And then the soils, the gold-rich soils, which are this alluvial, silty soil, gravelly soil. And that, to me, our Twomey Russian River really exemplifies what Russian River Pinots, for me anyway, should taste like. And each Pinot from Anderson Valley, be it from Oregon, be it from Santa Barbara County, each of our Pinots has a very different characteristic, which comes from the sense of place, from the terroir. But they also have the same thread because they have the same winemaking thread. So.
Yeah. And it must be fun for the winemakers themselves to actually work with those different appellations as well. Because
yes, it is. They enjoy it very, very much, in fact. But we also have some Pinot from Santa Lucia Highlands that is only sold at our winery. So the Sobranis and Garys that's around Monterey County. So it's really a fun opportunity for the Pinot Noir winemakers to work with different Pinots from different parts of Northern California and into Oregon.
And it represents an even better opportunity for our friends watching this in Japan to want to visit us more and to try those Pinots at the tasting room, yes?
Yes, and this is a bit of an aside. I think that the tasting rooms will soon be opening again, is what I've heard from both Napa and Sonoma, but will be initially and probably for many months to come by appointment only. But we'll help you get in, don't worry.
No. Going to next.
We're going to Merlot. We'll go quickly to the Merlot, which was, of course, the reason that we started Twomey, as I mentioned earlier. The 2014 Merlot, this would be the third vintage that Jean-Claude Berrouet worked on with us. He was always Daniel Barron's mentor, but he started really helping us in 2011. So 12, 13, 14, this is his third full vintage that he worked with us. One of the big things that, in many ways, that Jean-Claude brought to the table was his sense of blending. He's a master blender. And with the 14 vintage, this is the only vintage at this point, as far as I know, that has a little bit of Cabernet blended into it. Usually it's Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot. But this one is about 80%, close to 80% Merlot, and then about 8% Cabernet Sauvignon, and then about close to 8% Cabernet Franc, and then a soupçon, the balance, Petit Verdot. So it's a classic Pomerol style of wine, but it's Napa. It really shows the Napa fruit. It shows, again, the sun that we get in Napa Valley. We don't get any rain from May until October, unlike Bordeaux, who gets hail and rain during the summer months. We don't get any. So we're blessed with a very, very sunny climate, which gives us very fruit-forward wines. The wine is from one vineyard, the estate vineyard, Napa Valley Soda Canyon, just south of Stag's Leap on the map. That's here where the where the B is. So as you can see, it's in the southern end of Napa, and it's a cool vineyard. It's influenced by the San Pablo Bay down here, influenced by the lake over here, and also influenced by the Pacific Ocean, which brings in the fog. So Merlot likes a slightly cooler vineyard, at least our style of Merlot does. And I think that's why Daniel Barron was so excited when we purchased this in 1999, because he saw the similarity to the Pomerol area of where he had worked. We also use an old technique, a winemaking technique called souterrage traditionnel, which is the hand racking of the wine during the winemaking process. Rather than pump from barrel to barrel, which most wineries do, we actually hand decant barrel to barrel through the racking process. Meaning we can therefore rack 30 barrels in a day because we literally are decanting barrel to barrel. Whereas if we were pumping, it would be 300 barrels in a day. So it's a very handcrafted wine, aged in French oak for 13 months. 30% of it is new, 30% of it is old, and 30% of it is 1 year old. And that leaves a 10%, which is actually stainless steel. So the wine, whilst it's very much a Napa Valley rich fruit, also has that European elegance, if you like, to it that comes from both the pedigree of Jean-Claude Berrouet and our winemaking practices.
Mhm.